CSGO gambling. I think gambling is fine, but the only problem is when you have kids and...
You know, I don't know what the age limit is for people that watch me, so I'm not trying to promote that to little kids.
Being 15, 16, it got recommended to me on YouTube. But...
Make sure to use my promo code to get 50 cents for free, which means you can already open your first case.
Signed via Steam. There's no verification.
In a 12-year-old's mind, big chance.
12 years old?
Yes, I was 12.
Quite safe to assume that they do not have any licenses.
There is so much gamble promotions. I do get temptation whenever I play CSGO or watch CSGO.
You're not considered an online gambling platform. It might be a loophole, but this has existed for a long time and is the way the law is written.
That's actually one of the big driving causes of the suicides.
It is my bank account. 11 cents in my checking account, 48 cents in my savings account. Actually, just yesterday I spent the remaining $1,500 because I'm a degenerate gambler. How can I go to my mom and be like, hey, yeah, you know, I have no money. And the reason is because I gambled it. I don't think I could ever tell them because of how embarrassed I am of it.
So you just keep depositing and then you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I lost control of it there. You've got to stop. You've got to, and you say you've got to stop. You've got to stop. The next day you're doing exactly the same thing.
You might have noticed I went AFK for the last 3 months, and there's a reason. In April, I have announced I will accept offers coming from CSGO gambling websites, and within just a few weeks, the highest offer I have received was €120,000 per month to promote one of these on this YouTube channel. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that's a real tough time because you have to decide the color of your private jet and which Lamborghini you're going to buy first. It's a real problem. But I also said I will only work with the ones that I deem trustworthy. So I started collecting data. You know, I sent them a form asking for licenses, regulations, and basically how they operate. Because I want to make sure that I'm not going to promote something that would be illegal or immoral. And for example, something that would allow, you know, like 12 years old ins without any sort of verification. You would agree on saying that would be bad. I mean, imagine a world where 80% of every content around one game would promote illegal and unregulated gambling accessible to the kids just like the adults from anywhere and without any sort of verification. In 2023, that would be unthinkable, right? And this is why I am not filming this from my Lamborghini. Counter-Strike, we need to talk. And I know it's TikTok days and your attention span is probably already gone, so as a matter of fact, we have to talk about the relation between CSGO and gambling and the damages we have been ignoring for way too long. It's not what I'm supposed to do, but if I don't do it, it feels like no one else will. So be it, I have paused everything I have ongoing for the last 3 months to get here today. I'm going to show you how bad the situation is, and I'm gonna do it with the help of experts and lawyers who will appear in this video. There is a lot of information to digest, but if you care about CSGO, I think it's important to stick around to understand what's going on. In fact, this might be my most important work, so let's get you up to speed. So that's a loot box called CSGO Keys. If you pay $2.50, it will open and you get a skin. They are not all the same, some look good and some don't, and the ones who look good are rare. Having cool skins feels nice, it's only a cosmetic thing, but you can show them to the other players, which is why everybody wants them. And because you can send this item from your account to another account, you can actually sell it to another player, which is why it holds value. There's a whole market behind this, and the most rare ones have been sold for more than $500,000. With a market cap of 4.5 billion, there's a whole economy behind CSGO skins. You will find marketplaces and websites allowing you to exchange them, and these companies are legit, they aren't a problem. What would be a problem is when offshore websites use these skins and trademark to enable unregulated gambling. In the previous video, I've mentioned that the presence of these websites feels overwhelming. They are advertised everywhere, and as a result, they might be a lot more popular than what you seem to think. I want to give you a bit of perspective, but I cannot say the name of this website, otherwise YouTube will think I'm promoting it, so I'm gonna call it Stake. Stake is the biggest online casino. You find them advertising in football and online. Recently banned from Twitch, they have created their own streaming platform that is Kick. In the month of April, Stake registered 28 million of visits. Now, for the same period, those CSGO websites which I am tracking reached 47 million of visits, and I am not tracking them all. So when you bring them together, those CSGO websites bring almost double the traffic of the biggest online casino today. And this online casino declared a gross revenue of 2.6 billion in 2022. Now, that doesn't mean the CSGO websites are grossing more, but it's a great element to put things in perspective. You heard about CSGO, you heard about gambling, you might think we are talking about a niche, but are we? These websites are present everywhere and at every level of the industry. It doesn't matter where you look, you will be exposed to some kind of promotion for sure, and I can show this to you. I've collected data on Twitch. This is the top 300 CSGO streamers since the beginning of this year, ranked by watch time. It is quite a painful process, but I went and I checked how many of them are promoting that kind of stuff. Out of 300, 226 are currently sponsored by at least one of them. Some have up to 5. We are looking at 75%. Out of 4 streamers, 3 are currently promoting these websites live on Twitch. By the way, Twitch TOS are explicitly forbidding you to promote affiliate codes and links to sites that contain slots, roulettes, or dice games. And also mentions that for a gambling website to be allowed on Twitch, they take into account a US license and sufficient consumer protection. I have reached out to Twitch for a comment, but they denied. YouTube is a bit harder to analyze, but I found that 80% of the creators uploaded at least one video or one integration inside the video to promote one of these websites since 2023. By the way, YouTube TOS are explicitly forbidding you to promote links to online gambling, as well as any promotion to online gambling that doesn't have the Google certification. And now here's a fun fact. During the making of this video, I have uploaded a small segment so that the lawyers could watch it for me. YouTube flagged that segment for promotion of unregulated gambling, and they have applied a lifetime warning to my channel for promotion of unregulated gambling on a video I am making to educate the people about that. It's been something like a month now, and I don't think it's gonna go away, but you know, whatever. So Twitch, YouTube, now what about esport? A lot of pro players are also sponsored by them. You will find teams and even HLTV, which is the website everyone uses to keep track of those matches. We've just had a major in Paris, a Valve sponsored event, but we could find some sponsors on the jerseys of the players, some of which even have CSGO in their name. So if we zoom out, we are in a situation where if you're watching streamers on Twitch, almost 8 out of 10 will send you there. If you're watching YouTubers, 8 out of 10 will send you there. And if you're watching esports, it's everywhere as well. So we can agree on saying that these websites have become central to the industry. It doesn't matter where you look, you will be exposed to them for sure. I have not introduced the main players yet, so here's a quick overview. Here's one of them. This one is very popular. For the first time, I will log into the website. So first of all, I click on sign in. I agree, of course. Sign in through Steam. Sign in. Alright, and just like that, I'm already in. Now you see, they have what they call cases, and they all have a price. If you want to open them, you have to deposit, so refill. I can deposit with credit card, PaySafe card, PayPal, crypto, Google Pay, or even CSGO skins. In which case, they will credit my account with the value of my skin. If I click on this button, I'm gonna spend $6, something's gonna spin, and this is the odds inside the case. Alright, click. I've got myself $3. Now I can either sell it right away and get the balance back, or gamble it again. Everything is designed to facilitate the gambling of your winnings. When I click on upgrade, I am sent here. This is what I've just unboxed. Now I select on how risky I want it to be, let's say 2x, and I have 43% chance to double it. Oops. Well, I've lost everything, but at least I'm getting better. Near miss. Yeah, once again, I was very close, but not quite. So how much is that sold for? $1? So this is one of them, but there's many more, and they all have their own differences. Some will allow you to cash out in skins, some will allow crypto, some of them only have cases, and some others have other stuff like roulette, plinko, crash, mines. Essentially, they have a whole variety of game modes, which as far as I can tell, I would describe as gambling, which actually raises the question, what is considered gambling in the eyes of the law?
My name is Michele Magro. I'm a regulatory lawyer from Malta. I spent 9 years working with regulators, especially the gambling authority in Malta.
Miguel worked 9 years at a gambling commission, and through his work he has become very knowledgeable on what's happening around gambling regulations.
Traditional definition is that gambling normally consists of 3 parts, right? Which is the consideration. So the consideration is that you're staking money. You're basically putting money on the line.
Okay.
The second part is the element of chance. So basically there's a random event. Third one is prize, right? So basically you're getting something back of monetary value.
So in the case of CSGO websites, am I fulfilling those 3 things? Consideration? Yes, I am depositing money. Chance? Yes, I can even see the odds. And the price? Well, yes, and I can even cash out in crypto for some of them. Yet somehow they are telling me that they are not gambling operations. If I have a license, if my website is licensed, am I obligated to show it on the website? Does it have to appear somewhere?
Yes, most European countries have very specific rules about showing your license on your website.
If I'm on a website right now and I do not see any kind of license being shown, is it safe to assume that they don't actually have any license?
It's quite safe to assume that they do not have any license. Yes.
Oh yeah. When I started to look for offers, I asked those websites to fill a form so I could learn about their licenses, their practices, and essentially how they operate. As you might imagine, gambling, much like alcohol or cigarettes, is heavily regulated. You can't just do anything with it. There's a lot of rules that exist in how it's promoted and how it exists in the first place. Of course, I knew that some of these websites will be the shadiest that exist. But I would just imagine that they're not all the same, you know, like if they work with so many big names and big orgs in the scene, it has to be within some kind of regulation. Surely, you cannot run an international gambling operation without any kind of license. I hope you would agree with me there. So I had to document myself on what a legal practice looks like.
So there is normally a body, usually government run, that basically makes sure that you're complying with the law that applies to gambling companies. For example, in some countries, you are required to connect directly with an IT system owned by the government, where basically every data that passes through your system is actually sent to the government.
There's no worldwide or EU regulation, which is why different countries have different rules. But in every case, these rules are making sure that the gambling operator provides sufficient effort to filter their customers. Now I'm asking you, do you believe a Steam login with no registration qualifies as a best effort?
You have responsible gambling requirements, where basically the operator is required to analyze the patterns of your gambling behavior and react accordingly to how you are betting. So if they detect that potentially you have a gambling addiction, for example, some triggers might be that you're chasing your losses. So you deposit 50 euros, you lose your money instantly, you deposit another 50 euros because you're trying to win them back. That is called chasing your losses. So that is something that a gambling operator, a licensed gambling operator, should make sure to detect, so they can take action to stop you from playing further.
They have to analyze how you bet, how you deposit, how old you are, what time of the day you normally play. And there's a lot of triggers that could make them block your account to make sure you are gambling with money you can afford to lose. Essentially, they are held responsible to protect their player base from the product they are selling to that player base. Now, what about KYC or verification?
Different regulations actually have different ways on when KYC should be performed. Proper term is verification. So basically you put in your details and your details are verified against government issued documents. In most regulated countries, because verification takes place at an early stage on registration, then basically someone who's under 18 basically has very little chance of actually accessing the website.
To make this easier for you, I've made this map. If you live in a country that is blue, a legal operator will be forced to ask and verify your identity upon registration. It can be passport, EID, fiscal number, or anything that will prove your identity and thus your age. And this will have to be verified before you get to access the website.
Then there's also the elephant in the room, which is taxes. If you're an online gambling operator or a gambling operator in general, you're normally asked to pay GGR-based tax. So that's taxes, additional taxes on your revenue. In some countries, this can go up to 30% of your GGR. There's rules on how you advertise. There's rules on how you issue bonuses. And if unregulated gambling companies, violate these rules, there are no consequences.
No consequences? That seems like an enticing reason to not bother doing things the right way, don't you think? Does that mean they are operating illegally? I will leave this conclusion to you. As for me, I kept looking for clues deeper and deeper because I would find it genuinely hard to believe that 80% or more of every creators and companies in the scene are promoting unregulated gambling.
My name is Dan Lehman. I'm an esports lawyer in Denmark, based in Denmark, also a Norwegian lawyer. I work within tech, esports, IP, and marketing. I advise players, organizations, tournament organizations, investors, sponsors, like the full circle all around. And I've also worked with several esports organizations who was asked by betting companies to be sponsors. So I have insight of this world. In Denmark, we have this called the Danish Gambling Authorities. You must obtain this license from, it's called Spilmyndighederne, but the Danish Gambling Authority. And if you don't have the license, then you wouldn't be operating legally in Denmark. Like, one of the things you have to make sure of as a content creator is this online casino actually licensed by the Danish Gambling Authorities? If they're not licensed, then you have a huge problem. So you're actually part of this illegal promoting of online casinos that is definitely not allowed in Denmark without license. So that will be illegal for you to do, and you will also be fined personally.
Some will allow them to exist if and only if they have a country-delivered license. So to service these countries, you must have a license delivered by this country specifically. Now, of course, you're not trying to be an expert in gambling regulations, so let me show you this map and oversimplify it for you. It shows the gambling licensings in Europe. Gambling is a broader term and includes poker, betting, and online casinos. Everything in green here means that for you to service any of these countries, you will have to submit to each one of their licensings and respect their different set of rules. And in some cases, while betting is allowed, online casino might not be.
Je suis maître Paul Le Tartre, je suis avocat français au barreau des Hauts-de-Seine. Je travaille principalement sur des sujets liés aux données personnelles, contrats informatiques et tout ce qui est questions juridiques relatives aux nouvelles technologies et à l'e-sport. La loi française, elle est vraiment très claire sur ce point. C'est que quiconque fait de la publicité par quelque moyen que ce soit en faveur d'un site de paris ou de jeux d'argent et de hasard, non autorisé en vertu d'un droit exclusif ou d'un agrément, est puni d'une amende de 100 000 €. Cette publicité, même si c'est fait à travers des liens d'affiliation ou des liens de parrainage, elle est interdite.
For now, the situation seems very simple. If you don't have the country-delivered license, you are not allowed to service and advertise in this country. But you can access the CSGO websites from most, if not all, the countries. So what the hell is going on? Well, it turns out that, allegedly, they might not be registered as online casinos after all. This is CSGO Roll by Traffic, currently the second biggest CSGO marketplace? I mean, that's their Twitter bio, and in fact, if you go on CSGO Roll, their website will redirect you to the marketplace. So, fair enough, just to make sure, I created a Steam account called IM14, by the way, and I logged on CSGO Roll. I used their marketplaces feature, and I asked their support if CSGO Roll is a gambling website, to which they replied, hey, CSGO Roll isn't recognized as a gambling website, it's a skin trading platform. Let's zoom out for a second to make sure we are all looking at the trading features of the trading platform. What is this thing? Alright, let's see. Okay, I guess I won. So I asked, does that mean the service provided by CSGO Roll is not gambling related? They took a while to reply and they said CSGO Roll is strictly recognized as a skin trading platform. They didn't even worry about the fact that my account was created the day before and it was called IM14, by the way. But to be fair, why would they worry about this if after all they are a skin trading platform? CSGO Roll currently sponsors G2, one of the biggest esport organizations, and as such, CSGO Roll was also present at the major in Paris. So how does a strictly recognized as a skin trading platform advertises in Paris? By putting a slot machine. Hosting and providing online gambling comes with a ton of regulations, from AML to player protection, players verification, KYC, taxes, and on top of it, you're not even able to provide service to every country unless you have a license in each one of them. Now you ask me, that sounds like a pain in the ass. So what if there was a way to provide the same service, but get rid of those annoying obligations?
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions. I've done this for Train and a few others, just answering, I guess, our perspective, at least from the business side. And I have no issue with being recorded. I want to make that completely.
Meet Hobbs. He is the owner of Clash.gg. His identity will remain anonymous for obvious reasons. Hobbs has a different approach to this. While every other website that I've contacted ran away from me like the stinky French boy I am, Hobbs reached out so we could have a chat. He agreed to be recorded and to respond to my questions.
Gaming law, especially international gaming law, is so complicated and there's so many different ways that you can interpret it. For example, specifically, Clash itself is not considered a casino. We are not considered an online gambling platform, right? We're technically a sweepstakes site, which allows us to operate within the U.S. Yeah, that's in the U.S. I'm happy to send you our EU legal opinion as well, that shows exactly where we stand. Put them out there; they can receive scrutiny. We're extremely confident in their validity.
So to break it down for you, according to the owner of Clash, Clash.gg is allowed to exist because it isn't a gambling casino. Because every 30 minutes, free coins are handed out to everyone present on the site. The players can access the entirety of the website for free. There is no obligation to deposit, thus they are not a gambling operation.
You pay the price for that, definitely. We give out tens and tens of thousands of dollars. That comes out to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to the players, but it allows us to not be a casino in the eyes of the law.
That's what to me looks like a loophole, like actually a crazy loophole. That just because you have like a free feature that eventually gives out a few cents every now and then, you are allowed to get away by saying you're not a gambling, even though that's what we've been discussing so far. You are a gambling casino.
Like we aren't under the eyes of like.
Yeah, like I understand like the legal stance is that you guys aren't, but like that doesn't make sense to me. Is how it's so obvious that it's a loophole. You know, it's a technicality, and not just Clash, like everybody else is with their marketplace bullshit as well. It blows my mind that there's no organization, no regulation, you know, that comes in and say.
Well, no, I mean, part of the way you got to see it is this is the way the law was written. Like it might be a loophole, but this has existed for a long time and is the way the law is written to allow for like sweepstakes opportunities for people like, for example, like you can win this car for free in an ad. You know what I mean? Like, like just by texting so and so to the number, blah blah blah. Like that is free entry, and then like down the line you might have a better chance if you go into the dealership and you buy so-and-so to win this car. But at the same time, like these laws themselves have been used for decades, right? To facilitate this type of chance-based play, if you will.
Some will say they are marketplaces, some will say they are skin trading websites, and some will say they are free to use websites. My point is that none of them is actually saying that they are an online gaming platform for a reason. And mind you, we've talked about Clash or CSGO Roll, but I need you to understand I am targeting the system as a whole. Yes, we talked about CSGO Roll because their sponsorship with G2 put them on the front row, and we've talked about Clash because the owner was willing to talk to me, which again I respect. But the point I'm making here is that we should not be focusing on one or two websites specifically. I could have picked anyone on that list and the same could have been said. Not a single one of them is currently showing a valid gambling license, not a single one. In the case of I believe they have a Curaçao license. Does that mean with just this license and this license alone, they are, you know, allowed to exist and service every country?
Unless there is literally no laws in the country. Gambling law generally applies country by country. So if the Netherlands write a law on gambling, then whatever happens to Dutch customers would be subject to Dutch law. So if Dutch law says you need to have a Dutch license, then a Curaçao license would not be sufficient to accept Dutch customers.
Look at this one here, it doesn't even have cases. It's a website where you log in with your Steam account, deposit with the usual payment methods, but you can also use crypto and CSGO skins, and then you can gamble with the money you deposited. You have the classic roulette, a bigger roulette, some kind of jackpot, mines, etc. And it's not so much relying on the CSGO skins. I am depositing dollars, I am gambling dollars, my winnings are shown in dollars. But then, if I want to cash out, I can only do it in CSGO skins. And today, it is crazy to think about, but almost 8 out of 10 of every content creators in the scene are promoting websites like that to any kind of audience. If you are a gambling operator, you are forced to verify the identity of every customer you service. That's a problem, and on top of it, you are losing out on a lot of customers. That being said, if you are an exclusively recognized as a skin trading platform, you no longer have to filter your customers, everyone is welcome in. So, do you have a Steam account, and are you able to click on a box? Great, that's all you need. To the question, how old were you when you first gambled in CSGO, 70.8% of you were underage. This isn't coming out of nowhere. Let me show you how easy it is.
Okay, let's go.
To prove my case, I have created a brand new Steam account, and because I'm fair, I called it I'm 14, by the way, to make it very obvious and easy for them. So now I want to gamble, and it turns out I am 14, which, saying this out loud makes me realize that it's not even half my age now. I will begin by Keydrop, currently the one with the most visits. By themselves, they represent 35% of the entirety of the traffic generated by the CSGO website. In fact, they have a very aggressive marketing strategy right now, and this is why 25% of the top 300 CSGO streamers are directly sponsored by Keydrop. With an average player count showing between 15 and 20,000 players at the same time, I am able to log in with just my Steam account. Keydrop, please confirm that. Yes, I am 18 years old, of course. Sign in. I am 14, by the way. Right after, I am linked to a deposit page where I can either pay by skins or put my credit card. I decide to use my credit card because the skins will be too easy for sure. There goes 50 euros, and just like that, I am 14, by the way, is allowed to get in. It took me 2 clicks to log in, 5 to deposit, and that's it. Within just a few minutes, most of it is gone because I'm not lucky with my trades, and when I try to cash out what's left of it, I see a pretty catchy design. I would typically put my trade URL and then press the green button, but that green button is here to tell you you can open a free case if you change your Steam profile picture to their logo. That way you will promote them to your friends on Steam, and if you do, you can come back every day and open a case for free. Obviously, these cases are abysmal and they got me like 5 cents. But the point is to get you to come back. The more you do, the more likely you are to deposit again. So I've tried some others, and all I have to do is to sign in through Steam. I don't even have to create an account, and they all have a ton of payment methods to make sure I can deposit. Have a look at the typical experience. Top right corner, sign in through Steam, and now I have to click on 2 little boxes. And that's it, I am in. Now I get to enjoy the many features of the site, just like my favorite pro player or YouTuber showed me. And if I don't have a credit card, no problem. I can use my CSGO skins or paysafe cards for some of them. I can log into any of these websites with my freshly created I am 14 by the way Steam account. Are we really going to pretend that putting a plus 18 over there is enough to prevent the young ones from accessing the website? This is a roulette, literally the symbol of online casino and gambling. Now look, I'm gonna Google casino. What's the first thing I see? A fucking roulette! But the website providing it is not a casino, or at least not regulated like one. So all the kids are welcome to taste some roulette, and again, if you don't have a credit card, that's not a problem. Generally though, their UI is garbage. It is cramped with moving stuff everywhere, showing you what other players have won in real time. This one is about pizzas somehow, and this one plays epic music whenever I open stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that 80% or more of every creators in the scene are promoting. What year is this? 2015? Hello? We know the esport demographic is very young. How many of them are watching their favorite pro player aspiring to become one? You have an influence on people, some look up to you. So when you promote a website they can access with just their Steam account, no ID verification, and you have a promo code that might give them stuff for free to get them hooked, Are you really going to sit there and tell me that you really believe they won't partake? Because of what? You've put a +18 in the corner. Some of you don't even bother putting it. Counter-Strike, what the fuck is going on? What are we doing? Have a look at this conversation with one of these websites. He's saying that they aren't gambling, but case opening, which is literally gambling, and then goes on to say that they don't need to KYC because it's not regular practice, so doing it would make them lose money because no one else does it, so they don't do it either. However, in case of withdraw, especially big amount, yeah, at this point they will have to worry about who you are and they will ask you to verify your identity. You know what? Sure, you can come in and gamble, no problem. You keep on losing, no problem. But if you try to withdraw, especially a big amount, yeah, at this point, I'm gonna have to make sure that you were allowed to gamble in the first place. And you're telling me this like it's a good thing? Hello? Now look at this other one. When I ask them for their KYC practices, he doesn't even know what KYC is. He's asking me if it's RTP or KPI, which are two separate things. But most importantly, KYC is like the most basic thing. Everyone knows what KYC is, especially in your work around gambling. This is the kind of self-regulation we have allowed to exist. This is the kind of brands and practices you are proudly endorsing and you put your faces next to their logo. Online gambling already exists within some kind of legal frame. You could promote some form of gambling which is regulated and legal. But why don't you? Because they don't pay nearly as much. That's simple. And one of the consequences on the business side of things is that you have ruined the party for everyone else. How many times have you heard that it is hard to find a sponsor for CSGO? Yeah, well, there's a reason. Legit brands have been pushed away from the market as a byproduct of this. Think of it this way, if you're getting paid 15,000 euro per video from a CSGO gambling website, and then you receive an offer which is 5 times less from something else, how much time will it take you to make the decision? Multiply this by thousands of creators and you have an inflated bubble where if you want to target the CSGO player base, you will have to pay 5 times the usual price. So if legit brands wanted to stay competitive, they would have to pay way too much for this to make sense, and eventually they went away one by one. And that's why over the last couple of years, this has been pandemonium. If licenses force you to verify the identity of the players at registration, it's game over for underage gambling. And as you're about to see, it is a real problem we are having in Counter-Strike.
That's okay.
Okay.
Totally. So,
Alright.
you have my permission.
Like, I didn't stop. That didn't matter if I won or lost. I just wanted to be happy. It sounds wrong, like be happy. I want to be excited. You know, I was feeling.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
in a 12-year-old's mind, a knife is a knife, and
Wait,
like
you-
I have a
you
big
were
chance.
12 years old?
Yes. I was 12 when I got introduced to this. My 12-year-old mind was like, there is so much bigger chance of winning on these websites than there is on CSGO. And that's where the trick goes, right? Because then I spend more money. One time I hit big, and then you know I just get dopamine in my brain, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta go again, and then it starts. Then it's a cycle, and it keeps going, you know. And obviously you're gonna lose, but it's like you're chasing this dream. As a 12-year-old, you don't understand this, right? Like you just want to win. You don't understand the economy or.
When you were 12 years old, you were accessing those websites.
Yeah.
How? How did you access them?
.com.
And
then I logged in on Steam.
And at any
Like,
point were you ever asked about verification of your age or anything?
No.
Nothing.
No, I mean, like, obviously the small pop-up comes, then we just say yes. There's no verification, just like, are you 18? Yes.
I started gambling at 16, and in total, I've lost somewhere in between 10 to 14,000 in gambling over the past few years.
My name is Alexander.
Manny.
Maurice. Stefan.
Spencer.
Roxy.
I am 23 years old.
20 years old.
22 years old. I'm 23 years old.
I'm 22.
I am 22 years old.
I'm from Germany.
The United States.
The UK.
Sweden.
Texas.
Ireland. And I started gambling when I was 13, 14.
15 years old.
I started gambling when I was 13.
13 to 14 years old.
I want to say 17.
14 or 15.
And in total, I've probably lost about £10,000 over the course of 7-8 years.
$600. 11 grand gambling.
1,000 euros, I think.
3,000 or 4,000, let's say.
All I had was a Steam account, trade link, and that was it. I was ready.
It was mainly through content creators. Gambling via a third party was promised as you had better odds, was all I really cared about at that age. You would sign via Steam, but yeah, there was no verification.
When you are that young, you get a little bit money every month from your parents. So eventually I bought a knife. That's when it started. When you gamble, you want to win it back. That's what happened for me. I wanted to win back the money that I lost. So I kept going.
So I started around 15. On those websites, it took me 30 seconds to log in. Oh, use my promo code for an extra 5% or whatever. Use this for a free £3 credit. It all just makes you want to gamble more and more and more. It's just a cycle of just trapping you in.
All right, so could you please explain I'm 5? Because in our world in Counter-Strike, it's very normalized. And I would like to hear from someone who knows what he's talking about. What's the reason we forbid gambling to underage players? Meet Joel Billieux. He does a lot of things. He's a professor of clinical psychology and psychopathology at the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. He's also a researcher at the Center for Excessive Gambling in the same city. And for the last 10 years, he has been involved as an expert with the World Health Organization on public health implications of online addictive behaviors. He does even more than that, but this is what brings him here today.
Children and adolescents are vulnerable for several reasons. For example, they are less efficient in self-control, so in actively regulating their behaviors, increased difficulties in emotion regulations, meaning that they can experience emotion in a very intense manner, and it also compromises their self-control over their behaviors. And this can be relatively simply explained by several factors, but especially the fact that the brain is not maturated at those age. And so another factors that promote risky behaviors among young people is the influence of role model. And typically, streamers, people doing esport high level are role model for these young people and these adolescents. So it's a clear problem if these people are involved in gambling, in opening cases, because it will promote this behavior in these young people and these adolescents. So I am clearly convinced that there is a responsibility from the gaming community to not show this behavior and promote this behavior in young people.
If you grow up in the gaming world like I showed you, and then you have this normalized promotion for gambling, and you can even access it when you are young. So what kind of effect can we expect for the young ones?
If you are exposed to gambling through advertisement, through your family, through your gaming practice, a risk factor for developing problematic gaming patterns and even a gambling disorder. So starting younger increase the risk of developing a real gambling disorder or a gambling addiction. So this is basically one of the reasons why in many jurisdictions advertisement for gambling is prohibited, the same way that it's done for alcohol or cigarettes.
That made me realize, when was the last time you have seen an ad for slot machines or roulette on TV? Advertisement of gambling and online gambling is under a lot of scrutiny, especially lately, and some countries have it totally banned. As a matter of fact, football is now at the center of this, and some things are changing here as well. As an example, in the Netherlands, gambling sponsorships won't be allowed to appear on camera starting in 2 years. And meanwhile, in the Counter-Strike world, we find G2 releasing a news saying that CSGO Roll is a community skin trading and social gaming platform, with a comment from their CEO adding that they are excited to enable G2 fans to get a chance to earn rare skins they always dreamed of. Such a deceptive wording, but in reality, this is like saying you are excited to enable G2 fans to gamble, as if I was sponsored by a casino and I would say that I'm happy to give a chance to my viewers to earn a house. Yeah, that might be true for the 0.01% that will hit big, but what about the 99.99 others? Have you all lost your mind, or is it me that lost touch of reality?
Clearly, they function as slot machines, basically. In addition to all the aspects related to sound, music and stuff, which put a similar environment at what you can find in slot machine, the way they are designed is clearly similar. A typical example is the near misses. Basically, the symbol will defile in front of you, and you will see a lot of potentially very rare or epic skins. Like knife. The reel stopped just after these very rare items. It makes the people think as if they were very near to obtain them.
We can open one more case. Let's do this one.
I'm probably gonna get some crap thing. Oh my god. Oh my god! Oh my god! No! No!
Those near misses are interpreted by the brain as if it is a win, yet they are associated with feeling of frustration, anger, negative emotions, and they tend to promote then people impulsively play again. For near miss being efficient, you need a certain amount of them, generally around 30 to perhaps a bit more. So it's an additional element here that is used to promote impulsive gambling and loss of control, basically. There are also other strategies that are used, like loyalty program or daily cases. You can have these cases for free each day, which mean that you will come and connect every day for having those.
During my research, I've come across some rather funny stuff. There is a P-Hub video where before they well, you know, they get inside each other. You have an ad for one of these websites. Mind you, I'm gonna have to blur everything because it's, you know.
Before start of this video, I want to recommend you site for deposit from 1000.
2 seconds later.
But I thought it was funny. I've also found some content creators from Valorant who co-stream some Valorant tournament games, and in between you find them advertising CSGO websites, even though they don't play CSGO, or at least they don't do it on stream. What wasn't funny, however, is to find what seems to be a 14-year-old streamer sponsored by Keydrop. Keydrop is currently the one on top of my list with the most traffic, and with a young kid promoting them on Twitch, I would argue that it seems like their marketing practices are somewhat questionable. We are looking at a 14-year-old streamer advertising what seems to be a gambling website in front of a live audience with a promo code, as well as banners that look very similar to the one that other streamers are using when you endorse them. What kind of message is being sent there? That any kid watching him is also welcome? One might think that, allegedly, this is why you could have the most traffic. And even more, he didn't just have one of these websites, he had 4, and they are all on that list. Without any form of regulation, what else can you expect? Actually, I had a segment there where I showed you how some YouTubers promote it and why it's a very bad practice, but I've decided to remove it entirely because I'm afraid this would turn into a witch hunt. Instead, have a look at some clues coming from the UK Gambling Commission. There's a lot more, but here's a few. You cannot feature anyone gambling or playing a significant role in the ad if they are under 25 years old. If you're going to promote the website and you are less than 25, you cannot appear in the ad. So you cannot talk in the ad, and surely you cannot show yourself gambling during the ad. And there's many more rules. You cannot portray risky behaviors. So when you go, haha, I'm going degen XD lol moment, that would not be allowed either. And also, you cannot associate with youth culture. Some websites are running events. This one did a back-to-school event. I don't think I need to add anything to that, kind of speaks for itself. Recently, Twiston, a 19-year-old pro player from Valorant, took his own life. The next day, as we had a CSGO tournament, the players held a minute of silence in honor of Twiston. And you will find clips of that on YouTube. So some guy took that clip, plugged his own gambling sponsor, and uploaded the thing on YouTube. This is unedited footage.
CSGO Roll. The coolest drop is only here. Try it now. Use code to get 5% bonus and free cases every day.
Watching along at home as we pay our respects to Twiston, who tragically passed away this week.
Now, let's recap everything we have learned. In Counter-Strike, 80% of the creators are promoting unregulated gambling websites. Pro players and esports organizations are promoting them as well, and even Faceit promoted some of these with a push-up that you cannot miss. It is advertised to everyone and portrayed as something fun, in total disregard of every gambling advertisement rules that exist. Twitch clearly says it is against their TOS, but does nothing. YouTube clearly says it is against their TOS, but does nothing, except when I talk about it saying that you shouldn't gamble, and Steam clearly says it is against their TOS, but does nothing either. The websites do not comply to any form of regulation that would be standard in every country, and by being unregulated, they are accessible to everyone, including the young ones, which is convenient because they are also advertised to them. It has been going on for 10 years, and no one cares. Hey, Welcome to Counter-Strike. I can't wait for CS2. So whose fault is it and who should we be mad at? Well, everyone. This video is essentially a career suicide for me because I'm going to trash everyone because everyone is doing trashy stuff. If you're looking for a single answer to that question, you're kind of wrong. It's a little bit of everybody's fault. You could blame the parents for not monitoring what their kids are doing online, but think of it this way, unless you stay behind the kid 24/7, you will not be able to control that. If you give him money for his birthdays or whatever, he can buy gift cards in physical stores and redeem them on the websites. If you're buying him games on Steam, he could ask for a refund to the Steam wallet and then use the balance to gamble. You wouldn't know anything about it. Considering how easy they are to access and how many role models are promoting them, you won't be able to prevent your kid from accessing those websites, unless you stay behind him 24/7. In fact, I would gamble? That most of the parents are unaware that gambling is such a relevant topic for CSGO. Valve, YouTubers, streamers, pro players, websites, face it, esport organizations, essentially the whole industry, but also YouTube and Twitch. When 80% of the CSGO category shits on your TOS and you do nothing about it, what's the point of having the TOS in the first place? You are all complicit at some level, whether by promoting it, enabling it, and directly making profit from it, or by closing your eyes and remaining quiet about it. You might have noticed I haven't talked about Valve too much. That's because they deserve their own chapter, which will come in the part 2 of this documentary, I guess. Like I said, the situation is pretty bad and there's a lot more to talk about. I will leave you for this part 1 with Mikkel, as I find his reaction quite revealing. Stay tuned for the part 2, and obviously, posture check. Do you feel some kind of pull nowadays when you're watching content?
Yes. Of course you can't get people away from gambling, right? But you should at least make it's so that it is 100% under 18 secure. So many kids are watching this, aspiring to be a pro player. Is used to use pro players as a way to sell their cases. Yes, exactly that. Okay. I know this one, by the way, I think.
You seem to have like a resentment towards the CSGO websites for allowing you to go there while you are underage. Do you feel the same about Valve for allowing you to open CSGO cases?
See, now that's a good question, because you don't really feel the same, do you? Like, really, I resent the websites more because they don't require an age hick, but then again, so do Valve.
You have opened $4,100 total in CSGO cases on Valve platform. Have you ever been asked for age verification or any kind of process to verify that you are of age?
No, I have not. And that's why it's it's a very good point that you're making, that why would I only resent the websites when Valve themselves also, like, how much money is it that they earn?
In the month of March they have made 100 million estimated on CSGO cases.
Some of those money were probably mine. But like, it looks more harmless opening just one case. But you can see me again. I opened just one case. But then like, look how much money that I've lost.